Russia takes control of 2 more settlements in Donetsk. U.S. discusses. Cutting aid to Ukraine. Russia has announced that it has taken control of 2 more settlements in the Donetsk region, as the conflict with Ukraine continues to escalate. At the same time, the U.S. has also discussed cutting aid to Ukraine to promote a peace agreement. According to TASS, on January 15th, the Russian Defense Ministry announced that its army had taken control of 2 settlements in Donetsk and inflicted heavy losses on Ukrainian forces in recent clashes. The report from the Russian Defense Ministry stated that units of the Western Task Force carried out decisive actions and captured the village of Terny. Meanwhile, the Eastern Task Force overcame Ukraine's defense system to take full control of the village of Neskuchnoye. In addition, in the past 24 hours, the attacks of the Western Task Force have caused heavy damage to Ukraine, with the number of casualties reaching 600 soldiers and the destruction of 4 enemy electronic warfare stations. Meanwhile, the Eastern Task Force caused the Ukrainian forces to lose 220 soldiers and 2 self-propelled artillery systems. On other fronts, such as Kharkiv and Dnipro, the Russian army has also made significant progress. The Russian Defense Ministry affirmed that its forces continued to improve their strategic position on January 15th, while destroying more Ukrainian military equipment. The U.S. discusses the possibility of cutting off aid to Ukraine. Meanwhile, in the U.S., the issue of military aid to Ukraine has become the focus of discussion. On January 14th, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan gave an interview to the New York Times in which he mentioned the possibility of Washington cutting aid to Kiev to promote a peace agreement. Mr. Sullivan acknowledged that the U.S. withdrawal of support could force Ukraine to make concessions and accept a situation where Russia controls part of its territory. It is true that we could cut aid to Ukraine. We could say, you will not receive any more support unless you agree to let Russia control some of your territory. That is a viable option, Mr. Sullivan said. However, he emphasized that he personally does not support this idea because it could break the unity of the NATO alliance and harm long-term U.S. interests in the region. According to him, Washington's military aid to Kiev should not be tied to imposing unfavorable peace terms on Ukraine. The United States providing weapons to Ukraine does not mean we have the right to dictate the outcome of the conflict, he added. Sullivan's comments reflect a balance between strategic interests and the U.S. commitment to supporting Ukraine in its response to Russian aggression. However, they also highlight the challenges Washington faces in maintaining NATO unity and defending its international interests in the face of mounting pressure from the war. The situation in Ukraine remains complex, with fighting continuing on multiple fronts. At the same time, policy decisions by the U.S. and its allies will play an important role in shaping the future of the conflict.